130,000 Americans were taken prisoner during World War II. Freddie Elkes was captured by Japan in 1942. Born in Wheeling, West Virginia, Freddie was 25 when he first enlisted in the Army. Stationed in the Philippines, serving as an Army Air Corps mechanic, Elkes would send letters home periodically, describing his life on base. In the last letter received by his father, Freddie stated his intentions of eventually coming home in 1940, but his plans were derailed by the attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941. Stuck in the Philippines, Freddie fell radio silent. His family received no word on his status until 1942, when a telegram informed them their son was listed as missing in action. It wasn't until later in 1942 that the family recognized Freddie's face in pictures taken of U.S. war prisoners being held overseas. However, the family didn't receive official confirmation of his POW status from the War Department until early 1943. Freddie was held captive in the Philippines from 1942 to 1944, suggesting it's possible he was even forced to partake in the Bataan Death March, a deadly 65-mile march to neighboring prison camps, where prisoners either pushed through the exhaustion or were brutally murdered. Throughout the whole ordeal, Freddie seemed to remain optimistic in his letters, even asking his family to leave something good on the stove, as he might return any moment. Instead of describing his living conditions, he tried to keep the focus of the letters on the well-being of his family. The length of the letters was restricted to 50 words, while also being heavily censored prior to being sent. By mid-1944, the Japanese started transferring prisoners to mainland Japan via large boats called hell ships. The name was well-deserved. Many died from suffocation, exhaustion, starvation, or even being trampled to death. The conditions on these ships were so terrible that suicide attempts were not uncommon. These hell ships were often targeted by U.S. submarines, as they were ignorant to the fact that they contained POWs. Freddie's father received notice from the U.S. government that his son was being transferred. Shortly after, Freddie was boarded onto the Arisan Maru. The Arisan Maru suffered a similar fate as other hell ships. During the transport of POWs, including Freddie Elkes, the ship was hit by 3 torpedoes fired by the USS Shark. In the 2 hours it took for the ship to sink, POWs were trapped in the hull after Japanese soldiers cut the ladders leading to the deck. The Japanese soldiers abandoned ship and swam to an arriving destroyer, while the POWs that managed to escape the sinking Arisan Maru were fired at. Freddie Elkes, along with almost all of the other prisoners, died that day. However, thanks to his letters, he is forever immortalized in history.